Hello, and welcome to another episode in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. My name is Jason Perkins. I'm an attorney who specializes in handling Georgia workers' compensation cases. I created this series of videos to provide people who've been hurt at work in Georgia with helpful information about Georgia's workers' compensation laws and the benefits they should receive under those laws. Now, let's jump straight into today's topic. Today, I'd like to talk to you about medical malpractice in a Georgia workers' compensation case. Now, what malpractice really means is that a mistake has been made. Most people have heard the term malpractice before. When professionals such as doctors, lawyers, accountants make a mistake, it can be referred to as malpractice. So, what happens when the workers' compensation doctor who's providing treatment or testing to you in a Georgia workers' compensation case makes a mistake? Well, it happens sometimes. Doctors are human, they make mistakes, and workers' compensation doctors make them as well. Sometimes these mistakes cause harm to you, they may cause additional injury or disability. If this happens, there's going to be questions about whether workers' compensation has to continue paying you workers' compensation benefits. So, what if the workers' compensation doctor makes a mistake that rises to the level of malpractice? Well, you need to understand two things about when this happens. The first has to do with whether the workers' compensation insurance company remains responsible for your medical treatment. Um, and the second is whether you may have a separate claim for medical malpractice. Let's talk about the first. Does the workers' compensation insurance company remain responsible for your medical treatment or disability that occurs as a result of the mistake that's made by the workers' compensation doctor? Under Georgia's workers' compensation law, there's a special rule that provides that the workers' compensation insurance company is responsible for the mistakes made by the workers' compensation doctor, even if they rise to the level of medical malpractice, as long as you're getting treatment for the workers' compensation injury. The idea here is that it's the injury at work that caused you to need the treatment that the doctor was giving you and made a mistake about. So if the doctor is doing surgery as a result of your workers' compensation injury and doesn't do that surgery correctly, and you end up with a worse injury as a result, the reason that rule is in place is because you wouldn't have had to have that surgery if it weren't for the injury that you suffered at work. Now, if that rule wasn't in place, the workers' compensation insurance company might try to argue that now the reason you need medical treatment or testing or that you're unable to work is actually the doctor's fault and that payment of benefits should no longer be their responsibility. But this special rule provides that the workers' compensation insurance company is going to remain on the hook for workers' compensation benefits, even if those benefits are due to the additional injury that was caused by a mistake that the doctor or other medical provider made. This provides you some degree of protection. You don't have to worry that your workers' compensation benefits are going to be stopped because the chain of causation has been broken. So it's good that that special rule is in place. Now, you also need to consider whether you may have an additional claim for medical malpractice if the doctor makes a mistake in treating you for your workers' compensation injury. If you suffered harm from a doctor's mistake or this mistake made by another medical professional, you might have this separate claim that you could pursue. It might be a medical malpractice claim or some other type of claim. Now, one question that you might have would be, why would you want to pursue this claim in a Georgia workers' compensation case if Georgia has this special rule providing that the workers' compensation insurance company remains responsible for workers' compensation benefits? Your medical bills are already going to be paid. A percentage of your lost wages are already going to be paid. Well, the reason you might want to pursue this medical malpractice or other type of claim is that Georgia workers' compensation benefits are extremely limited. Under Georgia's workers' compensation law, it really only covers three types of benefits: medical treatment and testing for your injury with certain authorized doctors, partial wage loss benefits, and permanent partial disability benefits. Georgia's workers' compensation law doesn't pay you anything for pain and suffering or what you go through as a result of your injury. It doesn't cover your full lost wages. And there are also time limits on how long you can receive benefits under Georgia's workers' compensation law that, especially if you suffer a serious injury or death, don't really fully compensate you for the loss that you've suffered. So if you have the opportunity to pursue another claim, that other claim may provide you benefits that you couldn't receive under Georgia's workers' compensation law. So a medical malpractice claim may provide additional benefits that may more fully compensate you for the loss that you've suffered. You may be able to get paid benefits for what you've been through as a result of this injury. You may also be able to recover other things that workers' compensation doesn't cover. So, another question you may have is, how do you know if you have a good medical malpractice claim that's worth pursuing? Well, medical malpractice is its own area of the law. Before we get into that, the first thing to consider is if you've had a serious injury as a result of medical treatment or testing in a Georgia workers' compensation case, you probably should consider getting a Georgia workers' compensation attorney involved to help with your case if you don't already have one. Now, you may also need a medical malpractice attorney. If you're going to pursue a medical malpractice case, I would certainly recommend consulting with one. Like workers' compensation, medical malpractice is a specialized area of the law. There are special rules that you have to follow and rules of evidence that you have to prove in order to demonstrate your case successfully. It may be worth your time to pursue the case. On the other hand, it may not. Talking with a Georgia medical malpractice attorney is going to get you the information you need about whether your case is something that can be successfully pursued. If you've suffered from medical malpractice or believe that you have, I'd certainly recommend talking with a good medical malpractice attorney. Our law firm does not handle medical malpractice cases. However, we do know good attorneys who do specialize in handling them. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you have, please consider two things before you go. First, I'd really appreciate if you give this video a like or a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to this channel if you'd like to be notified of future videos in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. Second, if you've got workers' compensation questions, please reach out to get answers. I offer free consultations in Georgia workers' compensation cases. If you'd like to set one of those up, there's two easy ways you can do so. The first is by calling the phone number at the bottom of the screen, and the other is by reaching out to us through our website, which is www.perkinslawtalk.com. Just click on and submit the pre-consultation request form there, and a member of our team will reach out to you and get a consultation scheduled. I'd like to thank you again for watching this video today. I'd like to wish you the best of luck as you recover from your injuries.